Hi, everybody. This is Kim Mitchell here, and you're listening to Backbeat.
All music is the same. It's just a new set of lyrics and a new backbeat.
Do you remember the first guitar you ever bought, and do you still own it?
No, it was a guitar that my mother bought for me. It was a Stella guitar, S-T-E-L-L-A.
Was that out of a catalog somewhere?
No, it was from a music store, and I played it so much. This was around when I was, I think, 7 years old. I played it so much all the time around the house that she ended up throwing it down into the basement and throwing it down the stairs, and it smashed, and I was just heartbroken. It was one of the most traumatic things that ever happened in my life. So.
What a terrible demise for a guitar.
Well, I think about her. She had to listen to me, so I can't say I probably blame her at this point in my life.
Uh-huh.
At 7 years old, how good are you?
Uh-huh.
Well, but I really took an interest in it. It was a disgusting instrument, but I just loved it. I played it all the time.
Uh-huh. Maybe if you see it in a pawn shop somewhere, one that looks...
No, it smashed when it hit the bottom of the stairs and broke, so we ended up throwing it out after that.
Or if you saw a similar one.
Yeah.
Would you be tempted to buy it just for sentimental reasons?
I probably would. You're right. I don't know if that company exists anymore, but it was neat. And then they realized how much I really was into playing guitar, and they ended up getting me another one and getting me a teacher and stuff like that. But back then, teachers were so, they're so bad. Learning Down in the Valley and On Top of Old Smoke, all these stupid tunes. It was just disgusting.
But
I wanted to rock even back then.
Cool. So I guess the lessons paid off.
Yeah, I guess I did. I don't think I took anything with me from those lessons when I was a young kid. I did, however, start a group called Max Webster years and years and years ago, and the reason why I started that band really was to move to Toronto, Ontario, in Canada here, to study from a specific teacher, and I did study from him for about a year. So, and then Max Webster started to record and get really busy, so I sort of let the lessons fall by the wayside. So I'm not one of those real studied players.
Who would you say musically influenced you?
The first real big influence would be Jimi Hendrix and that era. People bring up, oh, you mean like Pete Townsend and stuff like that? No. People like Mike Bloomfield, Jimi Hendrix, a little bit of Eric Clapton. Obviously, then Led Zeppelin came along, and Jimmy Page, I thought, was he was just very creative. The whole band was really creative, and was into Frank Zappa too. Captain Beefheart. I was a big Captain Beefheart band. I just liked stuff that was really different and not of the norm. Even when it came to the Zeppelin tracks and the Hendrix stuff, and while everybody was listening to Purple Haze, I was listening to other tracks on the album. And anyway, I thought those were great guitar players. After that, I'd have to say Eddie Van Halen and another guitar player, a jazz player called Alan Holdsworth. Musicians who generally, I guess, aren't so much the kind of musicians that go, look what GIT, or look what these lessons got me, or look what going to music school got me. But music just kind of comes out of their soul, They're a bit practiced, but I find that with Eddie Van Halen. That's why he influenced me so much, and because I found that for as much as he had practiced and when he first came out, it just seemed to come out of him. He wasn't thinking about it ever. It was just, music was just flowing out of him. There was this natural feel about it that I loved. And I've always been attracted to that kind of player, and always, tried to hope that my guitar playing is similar to that I try to forget about what I've practiced or what I've learned and just let it come out of me and feel it.
Some people refer to Sting as thinking man's rock. Do you mind being referred to as the party man's rock?
No, people can call me whatever they want. Andre, you should hear what my close friends call me. I can't repeat that on the phone. But, yeah, it's just that I've been known to write those kind of tunes. So, but there's other songs too that Expedition Sailor off Rockland Wonderland. There's a side of me. when girls come up to me, they go, you should write more ballads. Like your love songs are really cool and really neat, and they probably do well. So, but I don't mind that. I mean, those are the people that come to see me play, are those guys with, 2 beers in their hand and screaming, "Ew!" It's just like, that's cool.
In your songs, you always have sort of a quirky way of looking at life, love, and rock and roll touring experience. Why is that?
I guess, it's the people I collaborate with. It's their attitude towards music. It's my attitude towards music, and it's our experiences in life. A lot of this stuff is not direct experiences. It's not about things that happen to me or things that happen to somebody else. It's just you're jamming with musical notes, and you're jamming with the English language, and you're first of all trying to entertain yourself. Mm-hmm. So you're not really, when I write a song, I'm not thinking about radio. I'm not thinking about my audience. I'm not thinking about mortgage payments. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just enjoying being a songwriter and having fun with that and jamming around with it. And the challenge of it is what I love. If you're looking for a part that you can't find and it, and all of a sudden, may take a week or two of sitting down hacking away at that tune, and all of a sudden, bang, you have found the part. You've worked on it, So.
Mm-hmm. So you mostly do it for yourself above anything?
Well, in the initial songwriting stage, yes. And then once I have burned out on songwriting, then I'll look at, okay, what's my audience going to dig here? What's different here? What can I do? So, what do I feel like putting out? What am I proud of here? So, those kind of decisions. What do I think might get some airplay?
Your long lyrical association with Pi Dubois is now over.
Yeah.
Your album, Oral Fixations, featured writing collaborations with a few other people, including your present writing partner, Andy Curran. Why do you prefer sharing the process instead of just writing on your own?
Because a long time ago I read in a horoscope book that cancers aren't very creative lyrically, so I just took a pass on it.
That's a good enough excuse, I suppose.
Yeah, I've never really gotten into the lyric writing end of it, and you know why? Is because Pi Dubois was so amazing at it. He was incredible, an incredible man of the English language and able to jam with it in just a beautiful way. I was probably his biggest fan, so I sort of stayed away from it and took care of my end. But, on this latest album of mine, Kimosabe, I did do some lyric writing. And it's just because it just happened. It wasn't, I want to write the lyrics to this, I want to do this. I was just, things happen. You're sitting around by yourself and you end up writing something. It's not that I haven't written anything. It's just I kind of go, how Pi says things is way cooler. And now Andy Curran, too. I love the way I like his attitude towards lyric writing also. It's just a connection, It's exactly like meeting a chick, there's just a connection. There's something going on there that you go, you know what, we see things in the same light here. Not always, but
sort of a subconscious connection.
I think so. Yeah, you just, he gives a couple lines or whatever. You go, oh yeah, that's cool. Rather than like, people give me stuff all the time. They give me tapes. They give me pieces of paper of, here's something I've written. What do you think? It's like, a lot of times it's crap. I don't know what to say to them. I just go, thank you. I'll check it out, and if I really dig it, you'll hear from me.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know what these people expect from me other than to give it to me and maybe get some kind of opinion, I suppose. And sometimes it's okay, but nothing's ever turned my crank like Dubois and the writers that I've worked with, actually.
When you're composing at home in your studio, how far from the finished product do you get with it?
Well, that depends song to song, Andre. Sometimes, I've been known to take... I try and keep everything in a pretty raw form at home because I just want to get the idea down. I don't like painting a real serious picture of a song. I just like getting the parts down. I have a stupid drum machine and a bass guitar and a couple keyboards and the guitar and stuff. So I just kind of hack away at it and get the idea down and then take it to the band. I've learned over time that, when the more finished it is, the more farther away it will be when a band gets a hold of it, because all of a sudden you're not dealing with machines and just your own playing. You're dealing with other players, and so I usually let songs go where they may at practice. I'll take it to them, and it'll start changing right away, and so we just let it go. And songs evolve over the years on stage. Also, Patio Lanterns live now is a completely different song. Not completely different, but it evolves. Plus, sometimes out of boredom, we got to change stuff.
Yeah, well, I suppose if you play a song long enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard enough, looking at everybody's face the same every day. But this is a very inspiring band I play with, so I don't really get tired of their playing ever.
Itch was a good album.
Thank you.
Why do you think it didn't do as well as your previous releases? I mean, personally, I like all your albums. I mean, it's just that your style, it appeals to me.
Yeah, I think my first comment has always been with that first of all, thank you for liking that album. That's one of my favorite albums, too, for many reasons. Working with a guy named Joe Hardy, I wanted to work with him. He's a great engineer and a great producer, and I think he got the best guitar playing out of me. I think that album, I love the songs on that album still. And anybody wants to really check out my music and want to know what I'm all about, I suggest they try and get that album. But I think I was caught up in a musical crossfire at that point. All of a sudden, Pearl Jam started to show up, and all these young alternative bands, and it wasn't a case of the music at all. It was a case of, it's not hip to like Kim Mitchell anymore, because he's like a cottage party rocker out on the pavilions and the lakes playing out there for, people in the summertime. And so I think it was caught in a musical crossfire. I think if that album were released today, it would, and put under another name, it would do good, because there's some rockin' different stuff on that album.
Very much so.
Yeah. And I'm most proud of my guitar playing on that album, too. And I hate to pat myself in the back, I'm really not. It's just that, once in a while I will put on one of my albums and listen to it, and am able to listen to it objectively now a few years later. And Itch, I just kind of went, wow, cool. So.
The track Acrimony was sort of an attempt, I suppose, at rap music.
No? Well, it wasn't a conscious attempt at rap. It's I didn't know how to sing the verse. I was going, how am I going to sing this? And when I sang it, for some reason, it sounded like it started to sound like, I don't know, Freddie Mercury or something. I don't know. It just every time I tried to sing something, it didn't sound right. So once I got peeved off at it, and I just did what I did there when I was demoing it, and I went, it wasn't okay, I'm going to rap it. I just kind of started to try to phrase it a certain way, and I ended up going, you know what, this works the best for this. But man, I got slammed for that.
Really?
Oh yeah, we released that for radio. Radio's going, oh, it sounds like the Chili Peppers. Man, I don't have a Chili Peppers album in my collection anywhere. So, and then it's Kim Mitchell's attempt at he's trying to rap and stuff. Meanwhile, Rush, who everybody loves, they had already done something where there's a
Roll the Bones.
Yeah, Roll the Bones had this whole thing in it. So
that's right.
There's a funny story about the song Acrimony, though. We sent a copy of that to one of the biggest alternative radio stations in New York City without my name on it. And they freaked and loved it and went, oh, who is this? Oh, this is amazing. Man, what a cool tune. We're going to play this, blah, blah, blah. What is it? Who is it? Come on, tell us. And when they finally went Kim Mitchell, they went, oh, we can't play him.
Oh,
he doesn't fit on the radio. So I'm not bitter about that. That's just, to inform your listeners as to how funny and political and how
fickle,
dumb it can be sometimes, And I laughed at that because I just, they went, well, how come you're laughing at this? This is like serious stuff. I said, because I'm just happy they knew who I was in New York, Some program director's going, at least they knew who I was.
I suppose that's a bonus.
Yeah. Maybe they were from Canada.
Has anyone ever mentioned that the track Cheer Us On sounds somewhat like a Clapton song?
No. That's the first I've heard it. But, having you said that, I can see how you would say that. We just kind of blew it in the recording of that. But we should have maybe taken a little more time on that one. But really, we just sat around in a circle in the studio and just set up a few microphones. Nothing was really close mic'd except for my voice, and we just kind of, strummed it and played it as more like a campfire thing, and just did it and sang it, and that's kind of turned out that way, and we just sort of liked the feel of it and left it. But I think had I close mic'd a few more things and taken a little more time on it, maybe produced it a little better. But it is what it is.
Well, that's something you consider later on, sort of like what Robert Palmer did. He released a greatest hits album and remixed all his songs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I probably ought to board him something to do,
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah.
You want to do something a little bit different. You don't want to just rip tracks out of your albums and slap them on something.
Mm-hmm. You've released 6 studio albums to date.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you wait until your latest to record a duet?
Once again, these things just happen. There's a girl singing on one of my albums, Rockland Wonderland, too.
Mm-hmm.
She's singing on a tune called, I don't know the name. I was going to say Crossroads, but it's Mood Street.
Mood Street, okay.
Yeah, she sings I Just Drift and Dream. She's a session singer. Del Bello's been a friend of ours and a real close friend of our drummers. And I couldn't picture me singing the chorus, and I tried it a couple times. It didn't sound right. And it was actually the drummer's suggestion. He said, why don't we get Lisa in here? Because her first name's Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
And why don't we get her in here and, whip it up? So, she came down and she just blew everybody's lights. I mean, it's just, she's so good, And she's a very busy singer here in Toronto. She's busy in the studios all day. Probably most of the commercials that everyone hears in Canada, 60% of them, she's singing on them. And she makes a pretty good living doing that because she's very quick in the studio and adapt to different styles. So, yeah, she's an interesting woman, that girl.
But is
she
there
wouldn't take any money either. I'm
really?
one that goes, here I'm paying you for the session, at least scale. Like I have a respect that we all do this for a living, and please let me pay you musician scale. She goes, no, I'm not taking any money from you. This has just been a gas. So
that is wild.
Yeah.
Is there anyone specific you'd like to maybe do a duet with?
I'd love to do a duet with, I guess, someone like Eddie Van Halen as a guitar player, sit in on a track with them. As far as singing goes, I haven't really thought of that ever. This is a very good question. Maybe Ricky Martin? I don't know.
Then you can sing in Spanish.
How about Pavarotti or something? Just kidding.
I read somewhere that you have a collection of instrumental music. Would you ever consider releasing it or using it for a movie soundtrack?
Well, I've never been asked to do movie soundtracks. One guy has approached me in my whole life and said, "You should get into that. You'd be good at it." And that's I mean, lots of times people walk up to you and go, "You know what? You should become a hairdresser." Or, "You know what? You should sell cars because you're really good at selling things." Or they came up and said that to me. So I might release that stuff. It's just sitting around, It's sort of a collection of, as I said, my attitude towards writing. I'm not afraid to write a wacky instrumental. Whether I put it on an album or not is another thing, but I may do that.
Well, you did have an instrumental on, the Oral Fixations, Honey, Forget Those Blues.
Yeah, Honey, Forget Those Blues, yeah. That was a guitar orchestra thing, a bunch of session guitar players in Toronto, and the recording of it didn't turn out really that good. When we were there doing it, it sounded awesome. It was like, 5 bagpipers. It was awesome. Everybody brought in big amplifiers, and I'd never heard that many guitars playing loud, playing that style of music, which is sort of a swing thing. But it ended up being mixed kind of weird, but I ended up bolting from the mixes anyway. We were mixing in Memphis, and I ended up going back to Toronto because my marriage was starting to have some problems, and I just couldn't focus. So I said, you know what? You guys mix this. I'm going home.
You guys have fun. Show me the results later.
Yeah, that's right. And it ended up sounding okay. There's a few tunes on that album I still like. So.
Your contract ended with Alert Records, and now at 47 years old, you find your new label, Oasis, to be a catalyst or incentive for your career?
No, I just find them to be a record label and, good people, people who are into music, people who who are doing their best, people who don't have a large roster yet, and they liked the album. I was actually going to put this album out myself, and never did, and they came along and wanted to put it out, expressed interest. So who knows what magic they'll do? Who knows what, I mean, none of this stuff you can predict. It's like trying to predict the NHL, Stanley Cup or the World Cup soccer. It's like, you just can't. Anything can happen. Great albums, like, for instance, when you said you liked Itch, it did terrible. It's like, who can explain that? I don't know. Who can explain? There's probably hundreds and thousands of CDs of bands and songs that are buried somewhere that are just like amazing to some people, and they go, man, I can't understand why this band isn't big or something. And then someone else comes along and it's like, what are they doing at the top of the charts?
Exactly. It's all a matter of promotion, I suppose.
It's promotion. It's there's obviously, stuff that makes it to the top. There's obviously something there. There's some kind of hook that the people are sinking into, but, I don't know. I can't figure it out, and I never have really tried to. So I just go about my business and do what I do, and try and enjoy my life as a musician, and try and enjoy my life as a human being. So
well, I think you're doing well so far.
Yeah. Well, and I'm faced with just as many challenges as everybody else sometimes. So there's no magic thing that happens to me really.
You live in Collingwood, Ontario, I believe. You still do?
No, I moved to Toronto, Ontario. In January. I still have the place in Collingwood. It's Collingwood is 2 hours north of Toronto on a beautiful body of water. I'm just trying to describe it to your listeners. And I live sort of on a resort up there on the water's edge with, a complex with, lots of places. But it's beautiful. It's looked after. I don't like fixing broken screens and stuff like that, but it's kind of funny because in the summertime people rent some of these places. And I go jogging by or something. I go, was that Kim Mitchell? Nah. Kim Mitchell's way better looking than that guy that just ran by.
Well, it sounds sounds idyllic there where you live.
Yeah, I'm in Toronto now, which is just the big city, and that's about it.
Apparently, you said that if you ever retire from the music scene, you said you would run for mayor. Does that idea still appeal to you?
Everybody's got to do something. And, I was in Collingwood for 7 years, and I saw things going down in that town that bother me. They're just so afraid of expansion, so afraid of growth, all these old city councilors, and it's like, come on, you guys, get out of here and get some young, not that I'm young, it's just, they had the big debate about whether they allow signs on the sidewalk for people to advertise. It's like, come on, give me a break course, little signs here and there, Joe's Ice Cream Shop. What's your problem? Just stuff like that. It's just, so I thought, man, I'll run for mayor. Everybody knows me in this town. It's like, hey, Kim Mitchell for mayor.
Well, that doesn't sound like a bad moniker.
Well, it's totally different than music. I think the heart of the point was doing something totally different in music in the next phase of my life, rather than, how musicians go, oh, they produced, this guy went into doing movie soundtracks, this guy went into that. It's like, oh, Kim Mitchell, he's cutting grass in Greenland, And think about it, there's not much grass in Greenland, it's mostly snow, so, his business ain't doing so good.
So you toured in Europe. How did that turn out?
Oh, it was the experience of a lifetime. I mean, the band I was with, Max Webster, came over there with Rush twice. Unfortunately, the tour ended in Germany because Alex, the guitar player, bashed his hand. But I had a great time over there. I mean, it's traveling around in a bus, and the audiences were so into Rush. And then I find German audiences are very responsive to something new, also. So unlike in America where they're going, get rid of the opening act, they'll do anything. They'll throw stuff at you just to get rid of you. It's like, I'm sorry, but we've been paid to play, and we have to play. You sit here and throw stuff at us. But in Germany, I find them similar to the French people in Quebec. Very, very artistic people, and open to the arts and responsive to the arts. So that's how I found it and remember it.
Do you have any plans to return?
Not at this point, but, there's email that comes from Germany regularly. There's letters that come, not that there's a big enough audience there for me to play, but I would love to come over there and sometime and do a few gigs, and whether anybody shows up or not, it's another thing. I'd just like to see it again, and just for the life experience of it.
You like to wear hats or ball caps.
Yeah.
Often an OPP one. Do you have a preference for the police force?
No. First of all, a cousin of mine came up to me once wearing an OPP hat, which, for your listeners, stands for Ontario Provincial Police.
Yeah.
It's a police hat. And first of all, I was intrigued, like, how did he get it? Where did he get it from? Because it was the official thing and everything. And I kind of went, how did you get that? So,
well, that's the one you're wearing on Shaking Like a Human Being.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the hat itself isn't official. The crest is the official crest that goes on their uniform. So I just said, man, he goes, well, if you wear it on stage or, on an album cover, I'll give it to you. So I said, sure. And that's where the hat thing began. Plus, I don't have any hair on the top of my head, so it's like a cheap hair transplant. Who wants to spend $10,000 on a hair transplant when I can, spend $5 or get a free hat?
Exactly.
So we're all insecure about certain things about ourselves, and I suppose being in the rock business and being bald on top, but that's nothing these days. Most people just shave their head now. So
exactly, that's what a lot of people do. They keep their hair so short, it's just standing on end.
Yeah, I just can't. I just can't handle that look for me. I pull my hair back sometime, and I end up looking like a golf ball ready to tee off on the ninth hole or something.
Well, I can sympathize because I'm getting there.
Yeah. Well, it happens to us smart men.
That's right.
And plus, I wear the hat because then people don't get to see the ideas that are going on in my head, or what I'm thinking about them when I'm talking to them.
So you guys sort of the billboard on your forehead type of thing?
Yeah. Well, they go, "Hey, are you thinking that about me?"
No.
Like, no. Put my hat back on so you can't tell.
What kind of music do you listen to? For example, if you were driving down Mood Street, what would be coming out of your CD player?
Well, when I'm driving, I drive a van, and it's pretty noisy, so I don't... You know what? Being a musician, you'd be surprised at musicians and how much they don't really listen to music all the time. Like, I have my times where I'm obviously having a... I like listening to this black rhythm and blues radio station out of Buffalo, New York. It's not a rap station. I love some of that stuff too. I have two sons that listen to that stuff all the time, and I think Busta Rhymes is a genius, and some of these people. But I was born and raised in a little town called Sarnia, Ontario, which is about an hour outside of Detroit, Michigan, and that's where Motown Records were, and I was raised on all that stuff. So I have found this sort of black rhythm and blues station that I just like that stuff. I like the way those people sing, and I like, I don't know, they got it, they got something that turns my crank. So I normally listen to that just driving around. My CD collection is just varies, it's just all over the map, so I can't really pick out one thing. I suppose the only music that I don't really like is I don't like opera too much, and I'll listen to it once in a while. I like some classical stuff, but opera, there's certain kinds of that stuff that just bugs me, and I'm really not into theater. I've been to a few plays, and I look at it and I go, oh, I don't know.
You mean like musicals?
Yeah, musicals, and it's like I appreciate the production aspect of it and all the work that goes into it and all the talent. It's just, at the end of the play, I'm not getting off. I got off on the set, or gee, how did they do that? Or how'd that guy fly through the air? Rather than like, wow, what a beautiful piece of music, So it just doesn't move me.
Yeah.
That's when I'll get in the van and my truck on the way home and put on a rock station and crank up AC/DC.
Cool.
There's another band I like.
Well, again, like you, when I buy one of your albums, I know what I'm going to get, and it's the same thing like with AC/DC.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, isn't it?
You know what to expect.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I can change that for you one day. I mean, it'd be nice to sort of do something totally different.
Seeing as the name Kim Mitchell is synonymous with partying and having a good time, have you ever been approached to do ads for a beer company?
No. I have played on beer commercials as a guitar player. I do the odd commercial. I just did one the other day for an amusement park here in Canada.
In Barrie, no?
Yes, actually it's called Canada's Wonderland.
That's right, okay.
That has our song Rockland Wonderland, which that's where that song was written. It's just a big amusement park. No one's ever said, hey, come on and do a beer commercial.
Well, that's unusual.
Well, maybe so. I mean, I look at beer commercials, and they're very in tune with this certain lifestyle and the beautiful people and all that stuff. I'm just not one of those folks. Maybe they sense that and just go. But, you know.
That could be.
It could be a good thing, you know. I mean, I do. That's the heart of my playing in the summertime is for those beer-drinking folks. So out on the pavilions, you know, they've been out on their boats all day on the beaches, and then there's some pavilion somewhere, and they come out and play. I mean, it would be a fun thing to film and see where it could go.
Well, I'd like to say, Jim, thanks a lot for calling.
All right.